the heart of ancient Alexandria, where the Nile's whispers met the Mediterranean's roar, Cleopatra, last queen of Egypt, descended into her private marble pool. Moonlight caressed the water's surface, casting an ethereal glow upon her golden skin. The night air hung heavy with the scent of lotus and myrrh, a fragrance fit for the gods themselves. Unbeknownst to the queen, a Greek poet wandered through the palace gardens, his mind clouded by sweet wine and the intoxicating beauty of Egypt. Lost in reverie, he stumbled upon a sight that would forever alter the course of his life. There, bathed in silvery light, was Cleopatra herself, a vision of divine perfection. The poet's breath caught in his throat, his eyes widening in wonder. Every word he had ever known, every verse he had ever composed, fled from his mind like startled birds. He stood transfixed, unable to move, unable to speak, his very existence reduced to a single moment of awe. Cleopatra, ever aware of her surroundings, sensed his presence. She turned, her dark eyes finding him in the shadows. But there was no surprise in her gaze, no modesty, only a knowing smile that curved her lips. It was as if she had summoned him with the power of her thoughts alone, drawing him to her like a moth to flame. With the grace of a goddess, she rose from the water. Droplets clung to her form, sliding down her curves like pearls fleeing heaven's grasp. Each rivulet of water traced a path that the poet's eyes followed with reverent attention, mapping the contours of her body as if committing them to memory. "If you wish to describe me, poet." Cleopatra's voice was a melody that sent shivers down his spine. Let it be with passion, not ink. Her words were both invitation and command, a challenge issued to his very soul. Trembling, the poet approached. His hands, once so sure when wielding a quill, now shook as he reached out to touch her. But as his fingertips met her skin, he found a new form of poetry. Each caress was a line of verse, each breath a stanza. He traced the curve of her shoulder, the hollow of her throat, composing an ode to beauty with his touch alone. Cleopatra allowed his exploration, her eyes half closed in pleasure. She was accustomed to being worshipped, but there was something different in this man's adoration. It was not just her body he revered, but her essence, her very being. In his trembling hands, she felt the weight of history, the power of myth in the making. As the night deepened, their encounter became a dance of passion and poetry. Every gesture, every sigh, was a line in an epic tale of desire and divinity. The poet's hands, guided by Cleopatra's whispered instructions, learned to write verses on her skin with feather-light touches. His lips, pressed against the curve of her neck, murmured sonnets that would never be heard by another soul. In turn, Cleopatra taught him the ancient secrets of pleasure, passed down through generations of Egyptian royalty. She showed him how to read the hieroglyphs of desire etched upon her body, how to decipher the sacred texts hidden in the depths of her eyes. Under her tutelage, the poet learned a new language, one spoken not with words but with the language of touch and taste. As dawn approached, painting the sky with hues of rose and gold, their passionate encounter drew to a close. The poet, exhausted yet exhilarated, knew that he had experienced something beyond the realm of ordinary mortals. He had touched divinity, had been granted a glimpse of the eternal. Cleopatra, her skin glowing with the aftermath of their shared passion, watched as the poet gathered his scattered wits. She saw the awe in his eyes, the reverence in his posture, and knew that she had left an indelible mark upon his soul. "Will you write of this night?" she asked, her voice a low purr that sent shivers down his spine. The poet opened his mouth to respond, but found that words failed him once again. How could he possibly capture the essence of what had transpired between them? How could mere ink on papyrus hope to convey the transcendent beauty he had witnessed? Cleopatra's smile deepened, understanding his silence. Perhaps, she mused, trailing a finger along his jawline. Some experiences are too sacred for words. Some memories are best kept in the heart, where they can never fade or be misinterpreted. Nodding mutely, the poet gathered his courage and prepared to take his leave. As he turned to go, tears welled in his eyes. Not tears of shame or regret, but tears born from the knowledge that he had touched something eternal, something that would forever change him. Cleopatra watched him go, her expression softening. She had known many lovers in her time, had wielded her beauty as a weapon and a tool. But there was something different about this encounter, something that touched even her carefully guarded heart. As the poet's footsteps faded into the distance, Cleopatra returned to her pool. The water embraced her, cool against her skin, washing away the physical traces of their encounter. But the memory remained, etched into her very being. Wrapped in moonlight and memory, Cleopatra smiled to herself. The poet's silence, his inability to capture their experience in words, was the greatest tribute he could have offered. It was louder than any sonnet, more profound than any epic poem. In the years that followed, the poet would try countless times to put that night into verse. He would sit for hours, quill poised over blank papyrus, struggling to find words worthy of the experience. But each attempt fell short, each line paling in comparison to the vivid memory that lived within him. And so, the tale of that moonlit encounter remained unwritten, existing only in the shared memory of a queen and a poet. It became a secret history, a hidden chapter in the grand saga of Cleopatra's life. For Cleopatra, it was but one night in a lifetime of intrigue and passion, yet, in moments of quiet reflection, she would sometimes recall the touch of trembling hands, the reverence in a poet's gaze, and she would smile, knowing that she had inspired a masterpiece that would never be read, a poem written not with ink, but with the very essence of human experience. As for the poet, he returned to Greece a changed man. His verses, once flowery and ornate, took on a new depth and passion. Though he never spoke directly of his encounter with Cleopatra, those who knew him well could sense a shift in his work. There was a new understanding of beauty, of divinity, of the ineffable nature of true passion. And so, the legend of Cleopatra grew, not just through the grand narratives of history, but through the silent testimony of those whose lives she touched. In the end, perhaps that was her greatest legacy, not the empires she swayed or the rulers she seduced, but the way she ignited the divine spark in those who crossed her path, leaving them forever changed.